Well, folks, the Democrats are about to lose what little bit of a mind they have left. With the sad passing of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, liberals in this country are running scared and set to bring a full-scale, full-blown assault against Trump's Supreme Court nomination. I want to welcome everyone to our newly announced Wednesday midweek edition here at the Closet Conservative Podcast. Here at the Liberty Loft, we have listened to our listeners and their demands and will now be offering 2 episodes per week. Please sit back as I break down how the radical left is prepared to disrupt and dismantle President Trump and the conservative Senate majority's constitutional power to appoint and nominate a Ginsburg replacement. This ahead and more today on the Closet Conservative Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Wright. Let's get started. No doubt our country is deeply saddened by the passing of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. However, ladies and gentlemen, in saying that, our country better prepare itself. The outright disdain that Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and the run-amuck Chuck Schumers of the Democratic Senate will be ever more revealed. You thought that the public crucifixion of Justice Kavanaugh was terrible? Folks, you haven't seen anything yet. Ladies and gentlemen, for over the last 3.5 years, liberal Democrats and socialist squad members of the left have continually attacked, personally and professionally, the actions of Donald Trump. From jump go, they cannot get over the fact that he won against the carpet-bagging Hillary Clinton back in 2016. And since Trump's inauguration, Joe Biden, led by Nancy Pelosi, AOC, and the rest of the liberal gang, have been slinging their socialistic slurs of hatred up and down the halls of Congress. With their hatred on full display and exacerbated and inflamed by the morons of liberal mainstream media, the goal from the beginning was to get Trump at any cost. And folks, believe me when I tell you, everyday Americans have paid the ultimate cost for over the 3.5 years. Democrats since 2016 have prepared and paved a way to steal their way back into the White House. And now they are just downright pissed that their games of playing politics have come back to haunt them. Some in America may be saying, "Oh, no, Eric, what do you mean? It is the Republicans like Senator Lindsey Graham and others that are playing politics and attempting to railroad a confirmation with just near 50 days before the presidential election." Folks, that is not the case. And here's why. First, it is our God-given right as Americans to make our voices heard. And in 2016, that is just what we did and just what this country did by electing Donald Trump as president and ensuring a Republican majority in the Senate. And per our Constitution, the United States President has a duty and obligation and right to provide nominations to the Senate for consideration to the Supreme Court. For you liberal scholars out there, I have read our Constitution, cover to cover, in fact, and nowhere does it say that if you have just 50 days away before the election, the president forfeits his or her right to nominate. In fact, per the legal stance, Section 1 of the 20th Amendment prescribes that the start and end of every 4-year term of both the president and vice president shall be until noon on January the 20th. Now, I know that Democrats have a hard time following numbers. Their fuzzy math tactics have put our national debt to over $23 trillion. But despite current kiddo Common Core math and all of that madness, indeed, Democrats out there, even counting on their fingers and their toes, can see that despite the upcoming election and its outcome, Donald Trump is and remains president until January 20, 2021. Which brings me to my next argument. I just am loving how communist CNN and Maddow MSNBC have now outlined that Senate Republicans didn't honor Obama a vote on his nomination of Merrick Garland in 2016. Well, ladies and gentlemen, again, I point to the U.S. Constitution, which states that a president has a right to duty and to nominate, and the Senate has the right and responsibility to vote if they choose. And in 2016, the Republican majority Senate said no and no thank you to another liberal judge. Obama had caused enough damage in his 8 years, no sense in allowing his Democratic destructiveness to plague our country for 40 more. President Trump announced that he would indeed nominate a woman to replace a woman on the Supreme Court. The White House has zeroed in on Judges Amy Coney Barrett of the United States Court of Appeals for the 7th Circuit and Barbara Leggio of the United States Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit. Both women are highly qualified, and they, like Americans in 2016, exemplify true American conservative values. If you remember correctly, in 2016, it was those strong, conservative, American values that elected Donald Trump to the White House and ensured Republican majority in the Senate. But now, oh, how we await the women who will now attack either of these two women, personally and professionally. You see, for the left, they were only in favor of empowering women if the women share their liberal and socialistic principles. And if not, they will rip them apart worse than a scorned teenage girl who lost her boy to her best friend. But no matter who Trump selects, the left has made it clear that they will stop at absolutely nothing to disrupt this process. Over the weekend, Joe Biden said that he should choose a replacement of Justice Ginsburg. It is no surprise that Biden often forgets where he is or what he is doing. But it would also appear that old brain-dead Biden has forgotten that he has yet to win the 2020 election. And when all the right votes are counted, he will not. According to the asinine political pundits of ABC News and little Napoleon himself, George Stephanopoulos, reported that according to Justice Ginsburg's granddaughter, Clara Spira, Ginsburg dictated her final statement preceding her death in saying that her most fervent wish is that she will not be replaced until, wait for it, a new president is installed. Of course, there are significant issues here, folks. First, many Republicans, me, others, and Donald Trump argue the truthfulness of this statement, despite Ginsburg's granddaughter saying that she has a recording of it. Ladies and gentlemen, even if these were her last dying wishes, they are entirely irrelevant. And here's why. There is no denying that Justice Ginsburg's disapproval and disdain for Donald Trump. And if you remember correctly, in 2016, it was Ginsburg that called Trump a faker and said that he has no consistency about him. He says whatever comes into his head at the moment. He has quite an ego. Ginsburg went on to say, I can't imagine what this place would be. I cannot imagine what the country would be with Donald Trump as our president. And there you go, folks. The late Justice Ginsburg's hatred for Trump, the sheer hatred for Trump, is ever evident. If those were indeed her final words, they further illustrate not only her hatred, for she says that her seat on the court should only be filled until a new president is installed. In saying that, she is indicating that Trump should and could not win in 2020 and therefore has no business nominating her replacement. Folks, as I leave you today, keep in mind that no shame Nancy Pelosi and the run amok Chuck Schumer will stop at nothing to dismantle this vote and further shame and deny Americans their voice in both the White House and our nation's highest court. They have made their intentions known. As Republicans and Americans, we have the right, we have the votes, and we will move forward. Democrats have been playing politics to rid Trump for the last 3.5 years. Now it will be those politics that will dump them into another 40 years of despair and bring conservative control to our nation's highest court. And to that, ladies and gentlemen, I say, bring on the Kleenex. This is Eric Wright, and you have been listening to the Closet Conservative Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to our podcast. Please remember to give a 5-star review and share our podcast with your friends. The Closet Conservative Podcast is a production of The Liberty Loft. Copyright The Liberty Loft, 2020. You can find more shows and information on our website, www.thelibertyloft.com, or any of our social media channels.